In this video, we'll be taking a look at the shaft for the final project. Basically, there's a lot of information that's going to be contained within this, and some of it's a little bit weird, but other things, we'll get to, and I'll also address the size of the woodruff key in this particular section. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start a line, and I'm going to draw that line 134 long. That's the total length of my shaft, so that's basically what I want to work with for this particular object. So before I really go any further, I'm going to go in here to application options, and I'm going to just go to the sketch, and I'm going to turn off the minor grid lines and hit apply and see how much that makes a difference as far as the visibility of the screen. Now the thing of it is on here I want to click this and I want to turn it into a center line. So after I click on the line, I'm just going to click center. Now there's several different sections that we have going on here, so I'm just going to start by drawing the first one, and when I come over in this direction, I'm actually going to put in the distance of 25. Okay, and then that is going to come down slightly, and then it goes over 70. And then after that, it goes down slightly again, and then from that point it goes all the way out to the end, which is 39 millimeters. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put in my dimensions for the diameters. The first one that I have is a diameter of 22. The second one that I have is a diameter of 19. And the last one that I have is a diameter of 16. So there's my three different diameters that are being represented in here. Now I can go ahead and use the revolve command to revolve this object. And from here, I can pretty quickly go through and figure out the rest of the information that I need for this particular drawing. The first thing I have is I have a hole that is 44 inches deep, and it's threaded at one end with an 1/8 of an inch American Standard pipe tap for a bow and grease cup. Now, realistically, you do not need to look up a bow and grease cup. You don't really need to look up any of this, but we do need to know that this is a 1/8 of an inch thread. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the hole command, and I'm just going to place the hole on the back side here with my concentric reference, and I'm going to say that it is threaded. And then from there, I'm going to go to 0.125, which is an 1/8 of an inch, or number 5, and I want to set the depth of the hole to be 44. I don't necessarily want the thread length to go the entire distance, just a little bit. So instead of being full depth, I'll set the depth of the threads. 6 millimeters sounds pretty good. I think I can go with that. And then what I'll do is I will click on apply. Now the picture in the book looks a lot bigger, but it's just a 1/8 of an inch standard pipe tap. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cancel out of this after I create that hole. The next thing I want to do is I want to add threads to this. Now the thing that I want to make sure that you remember is if I go to inspect, measure distance, and I grab this face and this face, the distance between the two is 39 millimeters. So what I need to do is take 39 minus 24, and what that's going to give me is 15. 15 millimeters is how far the threads actually go on the end of this piece. So I'm going to go right back to the model tab, and I'm going to click thread. And I don't want full length, I only want 15. Well, let me change the offset to 0 and the length to 15. So we'll put 15 in right here, and then I can pick on my face. Apply that. Now I've got my threads in place for that section. The next thing I need to do is I need to create this hole that's up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look at what planes cut this thing in half, and I'll use this one. So I just select this plane right here, and then I'm going to click the new plane button and then pick the top of the cylinder, and what that's going to do is place a plane directly on top of this cylinder so I can place the hole. So I'll go ahead and do a new sketch right on this surface, and after it rotates and spins me around, all I got to do is locate where I want everything to be. So I'm going to go to project geometry, and I'm just going to project this one single line right here, and then hit F7 to slice my graphics so that I can see exactly what's going on. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on point, and I'm just going to locate one point. Set up a horizontal constraint between the midpoint and the horizontal constraint, and then give it a distance, which is going to be 12 from right here. And then I can finish this sketch. Now I want to turn off this plane because I don't need to see it visible, but I do have my point right there. I can now go to the hole command, and I can create a hole on that point that has a diameter of 8.3. So let me go ahead and say through all. I don't need it to be threaded, but I want it to be 8.3. Okay, so there we have 8.3 hole, and you can see that the other hole actually passes through it. Now looking at this a little bit better, I can see that this is actually a diameter 8.3 hole right here also. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and modify this and edit this hole. And what I'm actually looking for is a metric profile size 8 by 1.25, and again I'm just going to leave the other two parameters the same and say okay. So I still have my threaded end. The pipe tap isn't really going to be that big of a deal, so here I have the majority of this piece done. What I want to do now is I want to go ahead and put in this chamfer that I have down here at the end of my thread. So I'm going to click on chamfer. I'll select this piece right here, and my distance for this chamfer is going to be 1.5. So there I've got that in. Next I need to worry about this woodruff key seat. Now the thing that I want to let you guys know is if you look up the size of a number 406 woodruff key, it is 3/4 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch thick. Now we're working with a metric file, so we're going to have to be really careful in how we do this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the plane that cuts this object in half and do a new sketch on it. Next thing I'm going to do is slice my graphics so that I can see everything that's going on. Now what I want to do is I want to draw a circle with a diameter of 0.75 IN. When I hit enter, it'll automatically calculate what that is in metric. So we have 19.05. Now the thing of it is the way the key seat actually works is we need part of it to stick up from the bottom. Now for the actual woodruff key itself, you're going to do a 3/4 of an inch circle, and then you're going to cut it right in half at this center line. So as long as this center point is above here, it should go in where it's supposed to go in with no problems. Now the thing that I would say is if you look at the drawing, it says that it's a 3.2 by 1.7 keyway on the actual frame. So what I want to do is I want to dimension this to, let me go ahead and get some geometry in here. So I'm going to project geometry, and I'm going to project this top line. I want to dimension this right here so that it is less than 1.2. Because if it's any greater, 1.7. If it's any greater than 1.7, it won't fit. So I'm going to make it 1.5. That's a nice round number that I can go with. And then I'm going to dimension from here to the center of that key seat, which is going to be 11. And that dimension doesn't exactly look right for this particular object. Let me just make sure that I have the rest of my dimensions correct. Tools. If I want to measure a distance of this, it's coming up 37.5. And that should be... yeah, that's about right. Let me make sure the overall length is correct at 134. So sometimes things don't look right. Sometimes dimensions in the book can actually be wrong. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this sketch for right now, and then I am going to get a distance measurement in here and just make sure that everything is drawn how it's supposed to be. My total length on here is 134, so I've got just about everything in here that I need to have in here. This key seat is a lot bigger than it actually looks, but that's fine. Next, I'm going to go ahead and extrude it using mid-plane cutting with a thickness of 0.125 inches. And what that does is that cuts my key seat into this piece relatively easily. And that is all that you really need to do for the actual shaft. In another video, we're going to talk about how to put all of the pieces together.